Tempo is a brand new investing app available in New Zealand, and we are very excited to be telling you about how it works and how you can use it. But just firstly, to let you know, in 2023, they conducted a survey with 1,000 Kiwis, and they found that 27% of people who they spoke to didn't know where to start when it came to investing. We're probably guessing quite a few of those people are maybe listening to this podcast, so keep listening.
So the great thing about Tempo is that their goal is to take the guesswork out of investing. When you sign up, they ask you some pretty simple questions, including how you feel about the idea of your investments going up and down, because some do more than others. You tell them how much you want to save, and then they recommend a mix of their funds for you. It's called guided investing. You're getting investment advice from the experts. How cool is that?
Yes, it's so cool. And also because they track your goal progress, they're also able to recommend changes to your investment mix over time, which is so great. If you're a member of our investing club, we've got an amazing offer. So if you join Tempo, you'll get $10 kickstart into your account. If you would like to learn more about how you can get that, anything you need to know about the investing club or Tempo, you can find that in the link of our podcast show notes.
Let's make your investing journey as exciting as it should be.
And just a quick little testimonial from someone in our community who is using Tempo at the moment. Wow, I just joined Tempo thanks to the recommendation from The Curve, and I'm loving the layout. The breakdowns are exactly how I want my investments to be laid out for me. Isn't that cute?
Some fine print for our lovely listeners. This offer is only for New Zealand residents, and terms and conditions apply. So investing with Tempo means you'll invest in Foresight Bar funds and receive financial advice from Tempo. For more information, including the required disclosures for Tempo, head to the link in the show notes of this podcast.
I've got some exciting news.
Oh, here we go.
Well,
you're pregnant.
Can you stop guessing that? It's so far
I'm just so excited for the day that you tell me that over a podcast.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, because you know I wouldn't tell you in real life.
All the juicy stuff she leaves for the podcast.
No, I was lying in bed last night, scrolling my phone, just on Instagram. And then I thought, I'm not going to sleep, am I? I'm not going to sleep. I may as well check my bank account. So I was scrolling through my accounts because I've been you've seen screenshots of me in my, online banking world. I really am trying to use my pots so that I've got my essentials, my non-essentials.
Yeah.
I have little hearts next to them. Anyway, also actually we have just put out a second budgeting episode. You should listen to both of those if you're I know I need to be better with personal finance, but don't really know where to start. Anyway, I then went into my emergency fund.
Oh, yes.
And I was trying to figure out how far off my target I was. I'm only £600 off my emergency fund target, which is 6 months of living expenses.
Love that.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah. Don't celebrate by going and spending it on something. I won't.
Yeah. But a lot of people might listen and think 6 months is quite a lot, which it is. You do definitely. That's on the higher.
Yeah.
I think I don't know why I'm feeling a bit just stressy about money at the moment. And it's not that I don't want to invest. It's just I was that makes me feel, it gives me good peace of mind.
Nice.
Anyway, I was that's incredible. I set that last year.
And you've achieved it.
And I've achieved it.
So how long will that take you, that 600, another 2?
I'll have it in a month. In a month, I'll be...
Amazing.
I'll have my emergency fund totally locked.
Maybe we should celebrate just a little bit.
You can shout.
Emergency margaritas.
But seriously though, for someone because I think learning about the idea of goals and then actually doing it is a totally different thing. And we've recorded a podcast with this amazing doctor who specializes in dopamine, and we were talking about shopping addictions, and that hasn't come out yet. So you might be what are you talking about?
It was so good.
But what she really spoke about was you can start getting consistency dopamine. So the dopamine you get from going and splurging on shopping or one-off purchases, the dopamine you get from being consistent and holding yourself accountable, getting towards your goals can have the same impact. And I totally experienced that last night. I was on such a high. I was
were you
my
I just
God.
want to transfer the rest now and then but no, that's not part of the budget.
I was thinking, how can I make £600 quicker? Because I just want to get there, have that done, and then stop thinking about it.
Amazing,
but
babe.
I just don't know what would happen if I had to use it. I think I would find it really hard to use it because it's taken so long to get to having it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost you need to write a list of
That's
things,
a
of
really
emergencies.
good idea.
Yeah.
quite scary to write, but actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I've got on my essentials, non-essentials, I've like created this sort of, it's actually not that ugly, but like a little, you know how you can put images on your online banking? So if you're saving for a dog, you can put a dog on it.
Yeah. I actually have a miso fund.
Do you?
Well, I was thinking of getting insurance and I was like, you know what?
Do you not have pet insurance?
No. I used to.
Why not?
Yeah, I used to have pet insurance.
That's so weird for you.
I've got like a recurring vet subscription. So within that, it's like vet bills are covered. But if she breaks a leg and needs surgery, that's not covered.
Why would you not have insurance?
Because I've kind of set up my own insurance fund. So I transfer money into a miso fund that's building over time. And I've got maybe about £1,500 in there now.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. So if anything happens, I will use that. And then if it doesn't happen and...
No, you can't spend it because you don't know when your dog's going to break their leg.
No, but like if she... around.
Oh my God, don't.
Then I can spend it.
You actually would be such a sad
and then it will
sack
grow
if she
over
died.
time. Like if I've got it in a high returning savings account, so then it will grow over time. So yeah. But obviously the risk is, that's not for everyone because the risk is if tomorrow...
She needs a back surgery.
Tomorrow, then...
And it's £15,000.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't the amount you'd pay for insurance be way less than what you're putting in that account?
There's just, with pet insurance in particular, there's so many more loopholes of what they won't cover.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's not like a human. If you're sick and you need surgery, you get covered. It's so much more dependent on like the type of dog, like the extent of the surgery, is it recurring? Like, so all these things, they just like don't cover for, which is so annoying.
But can't you
unless you pay super high premium.
Okay.
So I'm just putting that into a fund and seeing that grows. Someone suggested it and I was like, oh my God, that's so good. Because you always hear it of people being like, oh, and I needed to pay for my dog's back surgery and it was £5,000 or dollars or whatever. And I was like, well, why isn't it covered by insurance? They're like, oh, well, usually like the vet bills are, but the rest isn't, you know, and it's just like all these.
But that's just like a human. You just have to get the right insurance. You can be covered for everything. Because when I was looking into getting a dog, which, you know, is actually, now I've hit my emergency fund, I probably could start thinking about that as my next little goal. I think my housemates might kick me out, but.
They would love it.
Nah, they were like to me, my friend, bless his heart, like he knows me well. And he was like, you know, the dog would be 100% your responsibility, right?
Yeah. I hate asking people to look after me.
Subtle, but also fair.
Yeah.
Because there would be a time where I'd like forgotten to pick up its poo and someone steps in it and then it's you know.
I want to be like almost seen and not heard with a dog.
But it's hard with a puppy because you can't control, it's like a baby,
I
you know?
had a puppy. Miso was a puppy in lockdown. So
I know, I was there.
Yeah.
She was so annoying. I was the flatmate, so I get it.
Yeah.
But like.
I remember I got a new flatmate and she was about to move in and I was like, hi babe, just FYI, I'm getting a puppy next week. Just wanted to let you know, like I'll make sure that she doesn't bark. And anyway, I was like, but totally understand if you don't want to move in. And she was like, no, it's fine. And then like, I don't know how she slept through it, but
I don't think she did because
she was being really nice.
Yeah, because I was sleeping in the room that was right by Miso's bed and she squealed like a
But it wasn't 2 years later. She was like, no, I could hear her every bark. And I was like, that's so bad.
But that's the thing, right? Which is why I'm thinking maybe I get a dog rather than a puppy.
Yeah,
maybe I skip and I get a rescue dog.
Rescue dog, yeah. Anyway.
Sorry.
This is not a pet podcast.
No, it's not.
But maybe that's a.
But do you know what I would love to look into is some pet investing ideas in the investing club.
Yeah.
Because I remember I've
got a pretty long list to look at for the investing club.
Oh, really?
I feel like every podcast, and we should do that and we should do that. It's no, it's good though. It's so good to have.
I love how many, when I saw you post like, okay, taking suggestions for what we need to look at next month, and there was so many comments and people suggesting stuff. I was like, that's amazing.
31
suggestions.
Like,
that's so cool.
That's one a day.
Get going then, won't you?
Okay, bye. But one company that we have spoken about in the club and that's in the news and we're going to talk about is Tesla.
Yes. It's this really interesting, company that you would not have heard of.
Yes.
It is such
Run
a household
by a very,
name.
very boring man.
Yes, that you would never have also
not
heard
erratic.
of.
I watched
Oh my God, I've got things I want to say too.
No, I watched a video about Elon Musk's dad. Do you know he got his stepdaughter pregnant?
What?
I know.
Elon Musk's dad
Yeah.
got
his stepdaughter pregnant. 40 years younger than her. He was 70, she was 30. Gross, eh? Sorry.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, so
and he's like, and I asked her to get a DNA test because like you never know with women. I was like, oh, you sound like an absolute.
And that's Elon Musk's
dad. Yeah.
Okay, so he hasn't got the most incredible role models.
No.
Was he also a successful businessman? I
No.
wonder, like, yeah, right.
No. Anyway, Tesla.
Ooh.
So we all know that Elon Musk is kind of become Trump's right-hand man, and he's in the Oval Office with him. He's standing next to him when he's writing stuff. Like, it's just like the kind of real buddy-buddy. He was on the campaign trail and everything, but it's actually started to impact Tesla's share price.
I saw this and I didn't read all of your research, but I must say when I saw this, I kind of was stoked.
Well, this is an exact example of like vote with your wallet. Like, what companies do you want to support? Do they align with your values? Like, there is a leader of one of the largest and most successful EV companies that is out there probably promoting a lot of and supporting a lot of policies and initiatives that a lot of people don't agree with. So the best thing that you can do, you might be, you know, on the other side of the world and not actually have a lot of influence. Sometimes the best thing you can do is
divest your money.
Yeah, divest your money, support other companies that do align with your values, all of that. So
I think this is also interesting, like the conversations that we've had in the club about this and what different people's perspectives are. Because I think, I don't know, I used to be a real Tesla fan, you know?
Yeah.
I used to be like, oh, Tesla, fun. And I kind of didn't really understand, I don't think, I don't know. This was probably a year ago, maybe a year and a half. Maybe it was even longer. And Elon, even though the people who had researched and knew enough about him knew that he was bad news, it wasn't such a popular viewpoint. Like, it wasn't so like obvious, I guess. Whereas now you can't ignore it.
Yeah. End of last year though was really, really good for Tesla. Its share price pretty much doubled in 3 months.
Why was that?
Because of all Trump's policies were going to be super supportive for Tesla, for the company. But now, you know, the sales haven't actually been that good. And people are just revolting. There's like big fan forums that are just like, nah. And people are putting on their bumpers.
They're Tesla bumpers or just normal?
They're Tesla bumpers. I bought this before we knew Elon was crazy.
Oh my God, that's quite good.
But its shares are down 25% since mid-December.
Whoa.
Which,
what are you laughing at?
makes me want to buy them.
I must say, when you said that, that's exactly what I thought. It's so hard. It's like on one side, I'm like, I need to be a good person and I cannot do that. And then on the other side, I'm like, this is a good buying opportunity. It's so hard, isn't it? Can they just get rid of Elon? And like run the company without him?
Yeah. I mean, he's really got very little time now. You know?
He's a full-time campaigner.
Yeah, he's campaigner. He's got his platform X. He's got SpaceX. He's got Tesla.
And let's be honest, he's probably doing so many other things too. How on earth would you run a company with that much going on in your life?
Oh my gosh, we can't even run the curve.
I can't even go to the toilet. It's like,
imagine if I was like, so if I'm actually going to start 4 other businesses, you don't mind? I promise I won't. Like,
there are people who do multiple businesses. Like Grace Beverley, UK serial entrepreneur, has like 5. It's doable. It's just
you just get support underneath you and everything. And then you just swan in for the big decision making opportunities.
Kind of
the dream. But Europe in particular is kind of where sales are plummeting the most, and people just aren't buying. And people are switching to BMW.
Why?
Because they're electric vehicles.
Oh,
they're a big
really?
electric vehicle player. Yeah.
Because, you know, is it BMD? Is that the other one?
BYD.
BYD.
In China.
A friend was telling me about the company and like, I don't know, it kind of made me think, actually, if I wanted to have a decent amount invested in EVs, probably having some invested in BYD would make sense.
Oh, yeah. They've done really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, the whole Trump tariffs, those cars will become a lot more expensive being imported into the US. But you are seeing, it's funny, like I remember this brand years ago and was like, well, what is this BYD out of China?
I know, because it sounds shit. I don't like the name.
And then now I've started seeing them. Like I'll be behind a car at the lights and I'm like, oh, it's BYD. And then, oh, it's BYD.
What do they look like?
Kind of futuristic. I think all electric vehicles look a bit futuristic.
Oh,
but it's kind of like the Lululemon thing. You start seeing in yoga classes, oh, that person's wearing Lululemon. Like in the very early days, oh, that person's wearing Lululemon. And then before you know it, the share price has gone bananas. So this is a really good example of like spotting trends and seeing things unfold around you.
But do you think that this BYD situation, oh God, they're quite ugly, aren't they? They're so masculine.
Yeah.
But
I think Teslas are as well, though.
Yeah, totally. They're such a boy car. Why, though, if you're starting to see them everywhere, does that mean, though, that we're past, in comparison to the Lululemon example, you don't really want to be investing in Lululemon where you can see every single bottom in your yoga class wearing them?
No, so it's more about like having your eyes open for those opportunities of when you first start seeing Lululemon and not.
But that's hard because that's really taking a much bigger bet, right?
Totally, yeah.
I'm such a sheep, like it's hard not to be.
But yeah, BYD has done really, really well. I think BYD and Tesla, they're the kind of the winners
the
or
front runners.
The front runners. Yes, but even though, Tesla does remain kind of that dominant market player in the electric vehicle market, I think its brand image is definitely suffering. To have to put something on your bumper sticker like that, like cars are a status symbol, I hate to say it, but for a lot of people,
they are.
It is. And if anything damages the brand, like we saw with Volkswagen when that whole emissions scandal happened, people were like,
I don't remember what happened.
They'd altered the testing. Effectively, the whole thing was that they were saying these cars were permitting low emissions. And so people were buying them because they were good for the planet. And then they found out that was wrong. And they had to recall all these cars. The CEO, his head rolled like it was,
That's terrible.
Yeah, head rolled. That sounds.
I know, that's so dramatic.
Like there was a.
It was a big thing.
Yeah. And their image, even to this day, I'm like, ugh, Volkswagen.
I think as soon as a brand is tarnished, it's so hard to make
like
a comeback.
Nike to this day is still like, sweat factories. Yeah.
Or Armour Cane's pizza. I just think frozen rat underneath it.
Oh,
do you remember that?
No,
oh,
I think it was KFC.
God, no, it wasn't.
But I still love KFC.
It was Armour Cane's pizza. There was like someone found a frozen mouse underneath the pizza, and I just every time I'm going down the supermarket, I'm like, nah.
Oh my God, yeah.
But it is. It's a brand is. It's really hard to. Even this is a weird example, but at a dinner I was at last night, we were talking about the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively scandal after It Ends With Us and, all the stuff that's been going on legally and in the news. They're both going to be marked with this forever, regardless of what the outcome is. It's so, it's brutal.
Yeah, your personal brand, company brand.
It's so intertwined now. And there's actually a really good podcast that Diary of a CEO put out that one of our advisors sent us to listen to. Basically, it was talking about the idea that because we're in the digital age now, there's so many businesses that need to have a front runner or a face to the business. It no longer can companies be like they were in the industrial age where they're quite...
it's just a brand. There's no personality behind it. Yeah. It is... The money-making expert.
Quite a good title for a podcast. Maybe we should do a podcast called that.
Yeah.
The money-making expert.
Got very long titles, don't they? I love Diary of a CEO.
Yeah, so good. But it's just so dramatic. It's like, dun, 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 like, their music. You're like, oh, God.
Maybe we need to update our jingle.
Our jingle. Love that you're starting to use podcast lingo.
So we went into a lot more detail into Tesla in the club. So, we talked about its competitors, its financials, all of that. So if you're sitting there going, oh, this is looking quite interesting now that it's had a 25% fall in its share price, go give that a watch. And it's really
good insight because I think it's, even though you're like, oh, it's fallen, that to me sounds like it could be a good buying opportunity if you do want to know more about the company. And we've got a full-on analysis from Victoria Harris in the club.
Yes. We have had some really good news for homeowners. Oh,
really?
To be soon?
Oh, hopefully, yes.
Yes, hopefully.
But that's the thing. I'm like, do we want good news yet? Or do we want good news in a few months? It'll be great for us to
both be happy at the same time.
Yeah.
And then both be sad. Yeah. Rather than like, shame. Yeah.
I don't think that. But I must say, because I don't own a house yet.
Yeah.
When you say good news for home buyers, all it makes me think is, oh, cool, I've missed the boat and now I'm not going to be able to afford a house. That's what it makes me think.
Nothing moves rapidly in property market, like nothing moves overnight like it does with a stock. Property prices aren't going up 20% in a day kind of thing like a stock price does because they're not priced every day. But in New Zealand, we have had an interest rate cut. So interest rates are now at 3.75%, which they haven't been at that level since 2022. So this is really, really good news.
Interest rates are the interest that you pay on top of your mortgage, right? So it's not the money that you owe the bank as a principal amount.
No.
It's the interest that they charge you for borrowing that money, right?
And when I'm talking about interest rates here, I'm talking about there's like the official cash rate, which is what it's called, which is the OCR.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what the government sets, or the Reserve Bank of New Zealand sets. And all the banks follow, essentially. And then that's what flows down to your mortgage, interest rate being lower, your term deposit rate being higher, all of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But with this, when interest rates are coming down, that's not good news for savers. So if you've got money in the bank, not good. Like make sure you're checking what you're still getting on your high returning savings account.
So does that then mean if, for me, with my emergency fund, I could look at putting half of that in a term deposit? Oh no, because term deposit's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So they're both not great.
Yeah, in term deposit, you're locked in there.
So what then
So you don't want, because if you have an emergency and you have to get money out. Yeah.
The absolute no.
It's kind of just part and parcel of life.
Well, does that then mean though that you might want to adjust the amount you do have in an emergency fund because you're getting quite a shit return by just keeping it in an interest
Yeah, I mean
account?
3.75 and high interest savings
Hold on.
account.
I've just had a mind blow moment. Does that mean it's the interest that you earn on your money when it's in the bank as well as the interest you have to pay the bank for loaning the money? So is the same percentage what I would earn for a high interest savings account is what I get charged for a mortgage fee?
They're not the same,
okay.
but they move in the same way. They move in opposite ways. So it's not like, cool, 3.75, I'm going to pay that on my mortgage and I'm going to get that on my term deposit. But your mortgage might be like 5% and your term deposit might be like 4% or something. Yeah. But when the official cash rate is coming down,
your interest that you earn in the bank goes down too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so does your mortgage rate. So all interest rates across the board go down. So
right, so you don't have to pay as much, but you're also not earning as much on your money in the bank.
So good for if you're in debt and you want to borrow money, bad if you've saved money. So this is why interest rates coming down are actually good for the economy because people
don't want their money in the bank because they know
and so
they
they'll go and
spend
spend it, or they'll invest in the stock market because they want a bit more of a return. So a lot of money goes, out of banks into the stock market. Also, if you're sitting there going, oh God, I really wanted to start a business and take out a loan from the bank, but I can't really afford it when interest rates are high. Now interest rates have come down. Oh, I might actually start that side hustle. So I might actually get a loan from the bank, start this business, or I might actually get a loan and do renovations on my house and go and spend money on paint and construction and all of that. So it's easier. You're opening the doors up for a lot of people to borrow money.
So it's like summer. People are waking up, they're putting their bikinis on, they're getting out there in the sunshine.
Yeah, you're like,
I'm going to not stop hibernating now. Open the curtain.
We can actually afford to do stuff now. Yeah. Also,
there's a bit of movement.
On that as well as mortgage rates coming down. So if you're on a floating mortgage rate, your interest rate will automatically come down. If you're fixed, it might take 6 or 12 months for you to actually feel that change. But also with that, you might have an extra couple of $100 a month now that you can go and spend or invest or save. There's so many facets to it in different scenarios for people, but the overarching objective is to stimulate the economy.
People spending money.
Yeah. The flip side of that is, why do we want to stimulate the economy? Because the economy is quite shit right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Way to bring it down. All of a sudden I was like, fun, awesome,
Yeah.
let's get on a jet ski. And then you're like,
no, but if
don't get
everyone
too
has that
excited.
mentality, then the economy will start to do better.
Right, okay.
So this is why they pull this lever to kind of eject people out and about into.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So attention, PSA, anyone listening to this podcast.
Get out and spend.
Well, I was going to say it's a great time to start investing. Yeah. If you're thinking about it or you've thought about investing in the stock market particularly, but you've been like, oh, well, I'm getting quite good returns on my high interest savings account. This is starting to head into the territory where it's actually kind of stupid to have your money in the bank because you end up losing a lot to inflation, right?
I just think make sure you know what you're getting because it will be changing. Yeah. So if you were like, oh, no, I think it's great, I'm getting 6%, and then you looked and you're actually...
Well, actually, that's a really good point. And this is something that Danny spoke about in the most recent budgeting episode that we just put out. I think it was Budgeting 102. We spoke about the fact that some people stay in the same high interest account or with the same bank for their whole life. So while some people might be getting 5% return on their high interest savings account, some people are just getting 2% and they don't realize it. Yeah. So listen to that episode if you want to learn more about that.
And in Australia, they've also dropped interest rates, but this is the first time since 2020. So this is quite a big deal for Australia. Their economy is doing a lot better than ours. And
why is that?
They've got their ability to pay higher wages. We've got people going over to Australia. So they're doing a lot better, which means they did this interest rate cut, but they were like, don't get excited. There's no more coming kind of thing. Right. So 2 interest rate cuts in the Southern Hemisphere.
What's happening in the Northern Hemisphere? Like, is the UK, what's the official cash rate there?
Yep, they're dropping interest rates as well, and so is the US.
Vaguely, are they similar?
They're all pretty similar, yeah. I mean, the thing was that they ratcheted up everywhere, really.
What the hell is that word?
Ratcheted up.
No.
Ratcheted. Oh my God. Do we speak a different language?
Remember back in the day when we were like teenage and people would be like, that's rat shit.
No, ratcheted up. Causing something to rise or fall as a step in a steady and irreversible process. Jesus. The Bank of Japan ratcheted up interest rates.
Really? Okay.
That is the example on Google. Would you look at that?
It's so funny.
So yes.
You just do know what it is though. It's that sometimes that you talk normally, like you're speaking in a conversation, and then all of a sudden you like throw out there some random word that you would never normally say. It's like the finance gal and you just like jumps on out.
It's like you don't want to feed a dying fish that I said in an event. I've actually used that quite a lot recently and it works.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah.
Don't want to feed a dying fish.
She was asking about like when to sell a stock. And I was like, well, you know, sometimes there's no point in feeding a dying fish. Feeding a dead fish. That's
and everyone was just like, what?
And then I was like,
saying it?
I was like, it kind of works. But yes, countries around the world all increased or ratcheted up their interest rates because of inflation. So there was this steep increase in interest rates. That's why our mortgage rates went up. And then now inflation's under control, we can kind of pull them back a bit because it is really one of the best levers that an economy has to stimulate growth. So you don't want to have interest rates too low that you can't pull that lever. There's no room to pull it. So you do kind of want to have them at a level that you've still got that buffer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you don't want to be going past like 2 or 1, right?
Totally. If we had interest rates at 0 and our economy was doing badly, it's like, shit, there's not much else we can really work with here. So, yeah. Just something
it's quite a fine little line that we teeter across, isn't it? In terms of
being an economist would be quite like,
it's
what do we do if we just
it's a giant puzzle.
Pull interest rates here and it's like whoa, and like everything kind of goes out of whack, and then you're like, okay, we'll increase it back up, or what if we drop taxes here? Oh wow, you know, that could be it's like a whole lot of simulation.
It's like a big game, isn't it?
Yeah. It seems that there is a new kind of TikTok tug-of-war going on, and company that not TikTok, but like another company that's been used in this like tussle
between China and the US.
Yeah.
Oh God, I just live for this shit. Why do I find it so interesting?
And it begins with T.
I can't.
And it rhymes with Temu.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and it makes sense because it's a Chinese company, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of been sucked into this whole trade war discussion. So when Trump was in power last time, he put in tariffs. They weren't as big as they are supposed to be soon that he's going to put in. And they had this exemption that if goods were under the price of $800, that they were exempt. So it's kind of
lots good because Temu, everything's like $1.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why Temu has just done so well, because it's been exempt from this policy.
It honestly terrifies me to think how they make this stuff so cheap though.
I know. Let's not think about that.
It's so bad. You can't not think about it.
Have you seen the Temu memes?
No.
And it's like when you buy a dress on Temu and it comes and it's like it's like this big. It's like absolutely tiny. Or it's like, I wish Temu made houses. Oh no, it's Shein.
No, that was Shein. Actually, someone asked about the investing club, and I think we should definitely Shein. Okay.
Anyway, yes, Temu. So it managed to get through this loophole effectively of the tariffs, but now Trump is saying that loophole could also be closed.
Oh, so stunning.
Temu has honestly gone absolute bananas and been.
You invested in this quite early, didn't you? Like before the boom.
It didn't do very well.
Did it not?
No.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How much did you invest in it?
Oh, like a couple $100. Okay. Not much, yeah. Yeah, so the company that owns Temu is called PDD, and that company owns lots of other companies, but Temu is one of them. And so you invest in PDD and then you get access to Temu. But the reason that Temu has done so well is because of this loophole, and it's been a really, really strong competitor to Amazon and being able to remain competitive. Whereas now with, let's say, all the price of Temu products going up by 25%, if that's the tariff, that's going to really hurt their profits or just make them way less competitive for Amazon that doesn't have those.
But why is Amazon not going to be?
Because it's in...
Oh, because it's American.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But I was just looking at the stats of Temu. So it launched in 2022. So it's only...
Is that all?
Yeah, I know.
Whoa.
So it's had kind of like 2 full years of like 2023, 2024.
But it makes you feel a bit like we've done nothing in that amount of time. They've grown like a...
If only we were the team of financial education, that would be quite good.
We need to make it cheaper.
Yes.
And
expand to 79 countries.
Oh my God.
And we need to be moving about $1.5 million of goods a day. Sorry, that was back in 2022. In 2023, that grew to nearly 40 million sales a day. And
their digital marketing's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. And now their total sales are going to be about $50 billion in 2024. So that's triple what they did in 2023. So they're growing.
Why did
3 times.
Why did they not do well then when you invested in them?
Because it's not a direct investment in just Temu. You've got all the other, yeah. And it did do well. It's just that when I invested in it, wasn't.
It's hard when you're, also when you're not investing in the company because there's so many other reasons why that share price would move in different ways.
Exactly. It's not like...
It's so indirect.
It's like you're investing in a whole bunch of other things as well. But yeah, so this news hasn't hit the stock price yet though, because PDD's share price is up nearly 30% this year already. So and we're only in February.
You can't see what Temu's share price is because it doesn't have its own, right?
No, yeah.
It's kind of annoying. Yeah. I wish we could see what it was doing.
Yeah. It's like the whole likes of LVMH, you invest in the holding company and then you get access to all of those, which is why companies do spin-offs, because they might be like, Temu's value is not being truly reflected in the overall share price.
I remember you talking about this.
Let's spit it out and we can actually see a lot more value created. So, but funny you mentioned Shein, because they're actually another casualty of this potential loophole being closed.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, continuing on the theme of selling crap.
Quite good.
And the thing with Shein is it's about to IPO. So it's
yeah. You'd be gutted.
Yeah.
Backtrack.
You would be calling Trump's direct line being like, come on, can you please just wait?
Help us out.
Can you just wait until we've IPO'd? Because no exchange wants us and we are a terrible company to begin with and our valuation has been slashed already. Like we can't put our business on a stock exchange. The price of our business is going down by the year.
Oh God.
It's quite funny. I don't think I've ever seen a company where there isn't an exchange that's jumping over themselves to get them on their stock exchange. Like usually exchanges are like, yes, come list with us, because then it attracts new investors. It creates, new and interesting things.
Does no one want Shein on there?
No one wants Shein.
Got it. That's so
It's because of all of its supply chain issues and like practices and stuff, which is fair enough.
So fair enough.
And the bad image that it would give, the London Stock Exchange, for example. But everyone has a price and I think it'll get there.
Gosh.
But its valuation has been, it was in 2022, it was $100 billion. It did a deal last year, a private deal where it was $45 billion, and now it's looking to IPO at $30 billion.
Gutted.
Yeah. You wouldn't be happy if you
less than a third
took a stake at a $100 billion company and it's now worth $30 billion. And lastly, there was a report that came out that showed the world's top 100 highest paid athletes in 2024, and guess how many women there were? 0 out of the top 100 highest paid athletes last year.
Do you know what? I actually called your boyfriend about this because I wanted to get a video of you looking stupid playing sports and put some of the stats over.
Oh, there's so many of those.
Yeah. But it was so interesting to talk to him about it. And then last night, you won't believe who was at the dinner I was at.
Lydia Ko.
No, but close. Dame Lisa Carrington.
Oh,
And I was talking to her about this.
Is she a dame?
She's
That's
a dame.
cool.
And I asked the stupidest questions. I was really face palming when I left. I was like, Sophie, come on. Like some of the things I said, I was like.
Do they get frustrated with it? They must. Like
with people being like.
No, with the lack of earning capacity or the lack of recognition from a financial point of view.
So it was really interesting. She was saying that she's one of the oldest athletes that would be in that kind of sphere, particularly as a woman. And it's often because the payment doesn't kick in unless you're the best of the best as a woman. So like you could be incredible, like fourth in the world, but you really have to almost be number one to be able to make a living out of it or to have like any kind of financial gain. And so a lot of women get to the point where they're like, okay, well, like this isn't financially viable for me, so I need to leave the sport.
And also that is a cycle because if you're not earning enough financially, you have to do it part-time. So therefore you're not going to be as good, or you can't put your whole, life into it because you need another job to supplement the lower earnings. So therefore you just get caught in this cycle and you're never going to be number one. In the simplest example, if majority of female athletes, because they don't get paid enough, have to have secondary income, that means that of course they can't spend hours extra hours a day crafting their sport.
The other thing that I think is really interesting that a lot of people might not even think about, and we were talking about this last night, I said to her, like, does it come down to viewership? Like, is it because there's so many more men that watch sport? And it kind of just made me realize, like, if we knew that by watching and supporting female athletes, it could help them earn more, we would all be doing that.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't know that that's how we could help. And I thought that was quite interesting. Like sports has been branded as such a masculine thing, similar to money, right? Like a lot of people just think like maybe they're not that into sport, but it's not the case at all. Sport's incredible. And if you understand it and you know it and it's sold in a way to you that makes sense.
It's interesting you say that sports is like money because I was sitting at dinner last night with two men and all they were talking about all night was sports, and it was people in sports. It was like certain terminology and I had no idea what they were talking about, and I was like, oh, this is what it must be like when you don't understand. And then there's two people talking about finance or any industry, but it was just I kept being like, sorry, what's that? Oh, and who's and I was just like, oh my god, I just got annoyed at myself like interjecting all the time, and then also just it was just exhausting that I was kind of tapped out of the conversation. So I can see how it happens with conversations that you're not used to having or you're not knowledgeable about.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And I think that stat, just the idea that there's 100 of the most like well-paid athletes are men, there's not one single woman in there. Like that makes me infuriated, infuriated. And I think that a lot of people would feel the same, but it's then like understanding the economics of sport, understanding the way in which we can support female athletes to be on equal pegging. And what does that look like? What support do they need? Like, and what can we do as spectators?
Yeah, there's a lot that plays into it, right? Like viewership is one thing. It's like advertising dollars so that it is put in front of people so that they are aware of it so they can buy tickets. It's creating all the hype around sporting events, female sporting events. There's so much that goes into it.
But then another friend of mine she does like sports reporting, and she was saying, like the Australian female football league, for example, in Australia, there are some like really well supported teams, and she was saying something about like I think it was like some merchandise sold for like the highest amount that had ever been, like whatever it was. It's like, it's not a blanket rule that there's not viewership there, but it's still not really impacting the financials.
It's also like representation, young girls seeing, no one in the top 100 highest paid athletes, no one seeing that representation up there, or, seeing, I guess, there's a few people, don't get me wrong, there's a few incredible female athletes, but it's just like the more representation you have, then the more younger women as well and younger girls strive for that as a career. And it's like with anything, it's with politics, it's with business, it's with, it's just getting more balanced. And I mean, that's a function of there's less women in sport, but also women get paid less. And you just combine the two and you get no one in the top 100.
If you can't get to a point where you can have a thriving career or be remunerated for your efforts, like I understand that. Like there comes a time where you're like, well, I can't support myself, or I can't, and that's kind of heartbreaking to think that there's people that are absolutely phenomenal in their chosen sporting career, and yet they're not able to make a living, or like it's so, oh God.
And also in this is like biologically, women have to take career breaks to have children.
If they want to have kids. That was the other thing Lisa said. You know, a lot of people, if that's what they want.
Yeah, that they have to take a career break.
And then coming back's even harder.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, imagine coming back into a corporate job and you've taken, you know, a year off, whatever. You still have to kind of fight. There's lots of changes that have gone on. You still have to, you know, how to use your brain again and all of that, let alone in sport where your
whole body is your
whole body has
succeed.
Changed. And I mean, I can't even imagine. Yeah. Anyway, but the highest earning female athlete is Coco Gauff.
Where is she from?
She's a tennis player. Yeah. So she is.
Oh, the other thing that I actually thought was interesting that I asked Lisa about, because she was like, you know, female tennis players now are paid equal. But I was like, but then why are there no female tennis players in there? And it's because of things like endorsements.
It's
and
all
stuff.
The sponsorships. Yeah. It was all that. I remember I read a stat that like tennis players get 10% of their earnings come from actually playing tennis.
Yeah.
The rest is from like Rolex and all of those. So comes back to personal brand. Look after your personal brand.
LinkedIn, boys and girls.
Yeah, that's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
That's all I got for you. So we went into a lot more detail into Tesla in the club. So, you know, we talked about its competitors, its financials, all of that. So if you're sitting there going, oh, this is looking quite interesting now that it's had a 25% fall in its share price, go give that a watch. And it's really
good insight, because I think it's, even though you're like, oh, it's fallen, that to me sounds like it could be a good buying opportunity if you do want to know more about the company. And we've got a full-on analysis from Victoria Harris in the club.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to The Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the money, biz and stock market news. And if you like what you heard, we would love a review. Thank you.
Yes, we would love a review. But if you did hate it, please, don't leave one if you hate it. No, but in all seriousness, could you please leave a review? Because it really helps other people find our cute little podcast.
And we hope you have a good week and see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Sweet. Yeah. See you next Tuesday. Lol. See you next Tuesday. I mean Monday.
No, actually, though. New episodes out every Tuesday. Okay, quickly. The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.